Facilitators, right?
So this morning, just to kick things off, we're going to hear about a dream someone had that was supposed to be profound, and then we're going to talk about why these Kingdom Outposts are being done right now, some reasons why. Have some Q&A time with the panel, and then the rest of the day we're going to be looking at the fivefold gifts in Primal Fire, allow you guys to get a glimpse of how that works and why. Okay? So why don't you stand and share with us what God showed you last night?
Hi, I'm Lee. I had a dream last night. I dreamt of, as I'm a teacher, I dreamt I was in a school, but the school didn't feel like a school. The school felt like a fort. Because then we were teaching people how to operate cannons.
I'm sorry, what was
Cannons.
Cannons? Like
Cannons to shoot out. And the funny thing is, I was teaching them how to shoot cannons, but they didn't know how to fight against the enemy. So there was a lot of strategizing, how to strategize, how to use the cannon, how to work together as a team. And after that dream, like I dreamt of a normal day, but I had a baby hornbill that I had to reel it up. That means take care of it. Yeah. So it was like, yeah. So that was the dream. I was like telling her. So we were searching about what the hornbill means and all that. So one of it became...
Well, I didn't catch the second part, the second day in the dream.
Second one was the dream was like a normal day for me, but I found a baby hornbill.
Hornbill.
Oh, baby hornbill, like
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was searching through Google and asked what is it. You wrote something like the hornbill wisdom include ability to rear the young alone, protection of the young, hacking through the obstacles and breaking out of difficult situations. Wow. Yeah.
Self-determining brain.
Yeah.
Can I say something about the hornbill?
Yeah.
So I'm from Voice of Wilderness, right? Voice of Wilderness, and our icon is the hornbill. It's a symbol that God has given us in our ministry. We do a lot of defending the family in public square, in schools, in different areas. I wrote a book, Sexuality Education, and right on our cover are two hornbills. And that's the symbol God gave us. If you read about hornbills, when we first saw this bird, we thought that it was the toucan. Then we read up that toucans don't exist in Singapore. So what's the difference between the hornbill and the toucan? The hornbill has an additional bony structure above the beak. And that bony structure is a hollow structure. It acts like a horn, a trumpet. It amplifies voice. So hornbills are known to be creatures that make alarm calls that can travel distances in jungles, even miles away. People have heard the hornbill. Number two, hornbills have very interesting rearing, breeding behavior. Unusual behavior. When the female hornbill is pregnant, she hides herself in a cavity and seals it up. There's just a small slit for the male hornbill to feed the female hornbill. And for months, the male hornbill would be outside, picking up food for the family for months, and he stays faithful. Hornbills are mates for life. They don't stray. If by any accident the male hornbill dies outside while the female hornbill is breeding the chicks inside, the whole family perishes. That's an amazing trait of the hornbill.
Okay, we're going to have to redo this a little bit, okay? Because I think this is very prophetically important, especially in concerning some stuff, other prophetic stuff that happened to us last night after this meeting. So we're gonna recapture some of this stuff. I want to write it down because I think it creates an overall message on what to do. So this is how. I won't explain it for a long period of time, but over the years that we've been here, we knew prophetically, not just me, but I have the capability of collecting prophetic messages from all over the planet, just because I've been at it for a long time. And so people send me dreams for interpretation, or they send me prophetic visions. And so I'm one of the few people who get to collect many, and we can look through that prophetic much, that prophetic many, and we can pick out things that are very much in common. People have very common dreams, very consistent dreams, and through it all, we can say, okay, then this is what God is telling us. So because if you're prophetically gifted way ahead of time, 20 years ago, God says, I've got something special in plan for Southeast Asia, then we know it's way into the future. But during that period of time, we collect all this prophetic message and we go, okay, so Singapore is very important in that mix. Now I can be a person who can just come here and say, Singapore is very important. And you'll be like, oh yeah, everybody says that. No, but we know it. We know that what's about to come, that there's this, and we've had dreams, Singaporeans have had dreams since we've been here, about a beachhead. That beachhead kind of understanding that God is going to establish a beachhead here, and once, almost like the Battle of Normandy, once that battle for the beachhead is over, then the war for Southeast Asia begins, because we need to take back Southeast Asia for the kingdom of God, like what Wolfgang was talking about. Not Christianity, not the old missional ideas of Christianity, but it needs to be established as a kingdom empire for God. And so, that beachhead, we believe, after 4 years being here and doing prophetic apostolic work, that battle for that beachhead has been won as of yesterday. I know, and so I'm not going to get into what all that means, but I'm just saying this is our current belief, that now we have established a brand new beachhead, a body of teaching that can sweep throughout Southeast Asia for Southeast Asia. And so let's just say, because I believe we're the children of God and we're joint heirs with Christ, and all we have to do is just say, we just say, hey, that beachhead has been won. And now the battle or the war for Southeast Asia has begun. And I think that's the heart of your dream. I don't find it surprising that you would have a dream and go, hey, we need a body of teaching that teaches people to wage war against the enemy of God and all mankind. But our weapons are not weapons of war. They're love, peace, sound mind, hope, faith, truth. The weapons of the kingdom is, at the basis of it, is love. I'm talking about authentic, vulnerable, available love. So even though in the kingdom of God, it's like a mighty cannon that can tear down the barriers that are erected against the will of God, we have to be certain we get this war right this time. And so we've torn down these other barriers. We've really locked up, we've pushed down the enemy when it comes to false financing of the kingdom. We've torn down the enemy. We've pushed them down and we said, no, you're not allowed to silence the voice of God any longer. The age of the prophetic has arrived in Singapore in a beachhead. And we can't allow it to be silenced anymore. That means when she has a dream, this is a strong, beautiful, young Christian woman who has a dream that comes directly from God. And so then you apply that to Hornbill, which is like, okay, what is that? And then your testimony of what a Hornbill actually is. I think we need to understand that. Because within it, even though it's mysterious, and even though it has its imagery, right here in this room, we've got two people who know the answer to this message. And so before we start, I think we just need to very quickly do, okay, this is what it is. So let's just say, beachhead. Everybody knows what a beachhead is, right? That's a battle on the beach. It's literally like invading a country. When the Allied forces needed to go into Germany and eventually defeat Germany, they established a beachhead in Normandy. It was a battle that was beyond human imagination. The cost was great. But just to get off the beach, that was their whole point. We've got to spend all of our finances, all of our money. It's got to be halfway in secret. Nobody needs to know it. But we're going to invade Normandy, and they didn't know what beach it was going to be invaded. But by the time the Allied forces get there, it's just a brutal, brutal battle. Like, get off the beach. And so here we are, we're finally, that beachhead, once that beachhead has been established, then we could bring in ships, all of our supplies could come in, we could, bring all the tanks, all the things, everything that we needed to go through France and to finally end up in Germany. And because the whole point was to get Hitler, then we just had to do it. It was a huge war ahead of them. But as far as we think prophetically, that the beachhead has now been established and the enemy has been pushed back enough so that we can kind of wage that war. I'm sorry? Yes, we can advance. Thank you. Yes, because we don't want to do warlike language, because the weapons of God are weapons of true peace. So we really want to, eventually the only real peace on this planet that can be established through Jesus Christ and the kingdom that is to come. He's the only person who can establish true peace. But still, that beachhead has been won. Yes. I'm sorry. You guys need work to do it. Now this is a mystery. So I think all we have to do is just say, yes, let's just say it's true. Because what keeps this from being true is our imaginations, in a way. Because we just can't imagine that it would be won by a small band of people, or by something that is not really financed, or something that wasn't elaborate and huge and was a spectacle. But we have to remember that God's economy, His kingdom economy, is different than any other thing that we see. It's always the widow's mite, and the call of the small, and a ragtag bunch of misfits. And because He derives power and strength from that. Because when He empowers that, it shows the world that anybody can do it. And so we've been here for years, literally promoting that, laying down that body of teaching, and doing the prophetic work that says, hey, guess what? We're just saying this needs to be done, and let's get it done. And I think it has been done. So from that point on, there's a new war for Southeast Asia. That Singapore, for some reason, is the beachhead. Now, we don't know what it means. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know how to accomplish that. We don't know a lot of things. But I think within this is some of the battle plan that God has to win that war. So I want you to think about that in terms of this. I'm sorry. Okay. So I want to go back to, there was a few things that caught my prophetic imagination when you were talking about the Hornbill. And anybody can add in if it caught something. If they caught something. But one of them was, I'm just going to do the best one at first. They're married for life.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just say I'm just going to write it down. That is being married. Now, that language has been in this room for the last couple of days. Wolfgang promoted it time and time again. In fact, when asked what was one of the most important things about that spiritual battle, he talked about his relationship with his wife, that marriages. And I believe that's absolutely true. That a true, authentic, vulnerable, available Christian couple can do great things. I'm not saying that you can't do it if you're not married. I'm just saying that idea of marriage is such a central part. But whatever movement is going to win this war, it needs to be married to God in a way that hasn't been for a long time. That means no false, all the false finances, all the shows, all the stuff that we would call Christianity. That's done. It's got to be something different. Anybody want to add to that language? Feel free.
We probably need to go through some kind of renewal ceremony with our bride, with our groom, that recommits ourselves to Him as our marriage for life.
And this word life,
Till death do us part,
yes, but I think it also means
which doesn't mean it's
true life. The true Christian life. That we're married for the sake of life. You understand what I'm saying there? That this becomes the important part. And it's so key. Now, there were a few other things you said, so can you shorten it or just express them again so I can hear them?
They make calls that travels distances.
Oh yes, that's right. That's what was the one thing. It was the voice.
Yeah. Voice.
It was like a true
Trumpet,
voice.
Trumpet.
Trumpet. And, yeah.
True voice that was trumpeted.
Yep.
I'm going to use that word. Trumpeted?
Yeah, P-E-T.
E.
There's an E.
But that's.
Yes. So it doesn't have to remain that way. I'm just trying to write it down. But that seems so very important because what it tells us, well, we know that. How do I say this? That in years of collecting prophetic intelligence, one of the things that is deprived or that the enemy steals away is God speaking to people and people turning those words into their own words and speaking to others. And when we do that, if we can accomplish that, if we can release that, but I know it's not culturally allowed in a way. You have this, it's a different version of it here, but it's always this kind of shame-based culture that always refrains people from going, well, I don't want to speak out. I don't think I'm the person to say that. I think I'm too small. But I can go somewhere else. I can go to Scandinavia, and it's a different version. They have what over there is called the Janteloven, or the law of Jante, that governs all social interaction. And that law pretty much says, no, you don't have the right. You don't have you're not anybody, you're not worth anything, and so just don't speak. Anything that's new that comes in, don't listen to it because they don't have the right to speak either. And so it governs all of Scandinavia and deprives the gospel of its true power, which is the voice of God trumpeted among people who've never heard it before. So the smallest, little fragilest, person can speak truth in the power of God, and it becomes a mighty trumpet. So that was a big one. There was like in what I was listening to, I was trying to listen as fast as I could, but there was like two others. Do you remember?
Along with this Hornbill understanding that we had, the Lord gave us the verse Isaiah 43, prepare ye the way of the Lord. Actually, Hornbills sound an alarm call to the animals in the jungle.
Isaiah 14.
14
verse 3. Not
14 verse 30.
40.
Verse 3.
40 verse 3.
43.
Trying.
3.
Verse 3.
Verse 3. No.
Verse 3.
That's not good.
40.3.
Okay. It's me, it's not you. Once I get going, I can't even write a number on it.
Tell me, look for 7. I don't know.
Yeah, another coffee.
So, but when he was talking about the hornbill at first, did you hear something?
Yeah, about the chicks in the bill.
Could you explain that?
Yeah, you should.
Okay, explain it. It's about the
Chicks in the bill.
Oh, okay, so actually, horses are very hardy. So for the female, when it gets pregnant, it goes inside this cavity. It seals it up. There's just a small hole for the male to feed in. So the female would be pregnant and she would bear the chicks. The eggs, she will incubate the eggs until it hatches. And then the chicks will grow up to a certain age until they are ready before the female hornbill breaks open this cavity and they stand up.
Oh, so they grow in the horn?
Yeah,
that's nice.
They grow
It's actually in a tree cavity.
That's so exciting.
Oh, in the tree.
Yes,
In a cave.
In a cave, yeah.
Yeah.
While the male
Sealed cave.
sealed cave, yeah. So the male is alone outside. It makes up to 70 trips a day to feed the family. But it stays responsible. It fights off enemies. Both the female and the male, they are very hardy. The female fights off the snakes inside the trees. The male fights off the enemies outside, and they protect the family.
That's awesome. The middle of the face. Father is strong.
One pretty high, but it's about the
In the lady's dream,
So,
but in the lady's dream, she dreamt that she was raising a baby hornbill.
yes, and which is, that is obvious.
Which is
Which is us. This is us. So this is. Let's just imagine for a minute. Now, I want to go back to. I'm just going to say this, but this has nothing to do with what we're talking about in a way. So, there once lived a guy by the name of Pablo Laguarre. He was a Brazilian national. It was a little ways back in the time, but during that kind of avant-garde kind of 1950s and 60s, he was a poet and a philosopher. Came out of Brazil. He kind of reached a celebrity status because he was just so cool. You know, he would be like, oh, I'm going to paint this picture. Look at that. And he would just tell you what it is, and you go, oh yeah. Or he would write something down, and it just seemed so great during those, 60s and those kind of, strange times. Eventually, he asked the Brazilian government to say, I want a chunk of land in Brazil, in the worst part of Brazil. It's like a moonscape. It was just a desert that had nothing in it. It literally is like a moonscape. And so he wanted like 500 square miles of it. And they're like, sure, go ahead. It's yours. And he decided to build a self-sustainable community there. And he spent the rest of his life doing it. And for the most part, during the whole time of his life, it only housed about 300 to 700 people. But he could have done anything with his life. And so by the time, 2013 came around before he died, they'd asked him, newspapers, stuff like that, they did an article on him. They said, why? When you could have done anything, why did you do this? And he said, because I wanted to prove to the world that the only deserts in this world are the deserts of the imagination. And I think when we're talking about this, we're talking about a new movement. And the only thing that's going to hold us back is that if we can't see it, then we can't be it. If you don't understand that it can start right here, then it will never start. Because the only thing that would keep it back, there's nothing that can hold it back except your imagination. If your imagination is small and weak and insignificant, then it's going to be small, weak, and insignificant. So when it comes to that, you're talking about birthing. Once it's been birthed, you okay?
Yeah.
Then it will be protected by God. This time around, there's going to be a special protection, just like as abstract as that hornbill, and how it protects. And then it's going to be protected by God the same way once it's been birthed until it's capable of being released. So whatever we do here, it's got to be imaginative enough, but it's got to be protected, and it needs to be protected by you. God will protect it through you. So you've got to keep it. It's a whole different way of doing it. Oh man, the most valuable thing right now for you is whatever gets birthed right here. Today, I'm talking about today, no matter what the past, let the past be the past. Whatever gets birthed here today could be the most, I'm always telling people, because of my giftedness, that our best relationships are in front of us. And we know this for a fact. Because when the conditions of the world gets worse, our best relationships as brothers and sisters in Christ are in front of us. Our best missional successes are still in front of us. Our best everything, our best relationships as husbands and wives, as brothers and sisters, is still in front of us. The world's going to get worse, but we get better if we allow ourselves to do so. So whatever gets birthed from here, if it's within this, it'll be protected by God, and He'll use you to do so. And it'll look as bizarre as that hornbill kind of thing, but yeah, you're going to defeat snakes and bite their heads off, and it's all going to be real. So, was there something else? It seemed like there was one more that struck out.
School? She mentioned school.
Yes, she mentioned school, but that I think has to do just with the fact of a body of teaching that will emerge from here that will be very a part of everything we've done. It'll be very organic. It will lead people towards the natural design for their life. That is a design that can only be given to them by God. So that body of teaching needs to emerge for Southeast Asia. In other words, it needs to be Asian. Yeah. Where I live in America, and what I do in Arizona, as bizarre as that seems, most of the body of teaching that has emerged from that is created by Asian Americans. Because as we saw it way ahead of time, I saw it 15 years ago, and then I started talking about it, and at the time I really didn't know a single Asian person, not one, just because I live in Arizona, I live in a small town, and it just wasn't my life. But I knew when I saw what was coming in Southeast Asia, and I collected that information from other people, we knew